Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Michael.
And I'm Molly.
We are here today to talk about the newest episode of Survivor, a double elimination we got, and also the brand new Netflix show that just concluded Million Dollar Secret Season 1. So, we're going to talk about a little bit about the whole season, focus on the last two episodes that just came out. But let's go ahead and get started with Survivor, Molly. Are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. Well, we came back to camp with the newly merged, and I am not going to probably pronounce this right, but New tribe? Whatever it is,
I'm sorry.
allegedly it means milk in Mandarin. And that's that's all we need to know is that the newly merged tribe, somehow David convinced them, and Joe maybe, convinced them to name their tribe Milk. So that's one that I don't think we're ever gonna forget.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't know that that was a translation.
Yeah. So allegedly, we're getting totally off topic here for a second, but allegedly, and this is kind of sweet that I guess maybe they had come up with the idea to name it Milk, and then Mary said that she wanted to be something in Mandarin, so that her mother, who does not speak English, I guess, she thought that maybe it would convince the show to do Mandarin dubbing or subtitles for the show to have that as an option so that her parents could watch it, but I don't think she was successful in that. But this was the tribe's way of of kind of helping her with that mission to get it so that her mom could enjoy the show too. So it was very sweet. But
Yeah, that's nice.
anyways, the newly merged tribe comes back to camp after Charity's elimination. And Mitch is upset about being blindsided. Cedric is trying to figure out who voted for him, or kind of just getting the aftermath of the last tribal there. And it turns out, obviously, that it was Say. We know that voted for Cedric. But let's just say if you were Cedric and if you were in that position, do you think you would be so upset because it was just one vote that he got? Do you think that that would be something that you were really focused on and coming back to camp? Or would you kind of say, it was one vote, I guess it doesn't really matter. The rest of the tribe obviously wasn't on board with whoever that was, kind of forget about it and move on.
Yeah, I mean, in Survivor, you're kind of trying to gather as much information as you can. So I understand why he was pressed about trying to find out. But also, I think I would have just let it go and be like, okay, well, it was just one vote. Like, maybe I'll find out, maybe I won't. But, like, not be so in my head about it.
Yeah, I think at this point, like, you just kind of have to keep moving forward. It's
Yeah.
such a quick game. I think in the olden olden days, the 39-day days of Survivor, you might have time to kind of focus a little bit more on that, especially in the pre-merge, maybe when like maybe you're not going to tribal every 3 days. But now it's like tribal every day or other day at most, and you just kind of have to keep going. I feel like if you get stuck on something like that for one vote, you're going to fall behind, you're going to miss
Mhm.
conversations, you're going to just kind of be behind everyone else in thinking about the next vote and the vote after that and so on and so forth, that you just kind of, and not to say that he was focused on this for hours and hours and hours, but you just kind of have to like see if you can figure it out right away, maybe take 30 minutes to kind of ask around and see if, what you can find out, and if you can't do it, just kind of drop it for now.
Yeah, agreed. But I felt bad for Mitch though. He was so upset after coming back because he was blindsided by not being included in that vote, and Charity
Yeah.
obviously was like one of his closest allies. So that made sense why he was reacting in that way. Like to see that was sad because I was like, no, I love you, Mitch. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm hopeful he can bounce back though.
Yeah, and I think that's different because that is being blindsided by everyone. Like,
Yeah.
that is a problem. If you're not included in a vote like that, where almost, or a large portion, and even more than the vote would suggest, because it was a split vote, that pretty much everybody was on board with that, and to be like the one person or one of the few people who were not included, like, that's a bigger issue.
Yeah.
That's something that, like, okay, why were people not trusting me enough to include me on that? And it's understandable because Mitch was very close to Charity, like that was his closest ally. And so I would probably not have felt comfortable including in him in that plan either. But if you're in Mitch's position, yeah, that's something that to be very concerned about. That hey, you could be very easily the next one on the block here.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, then we go to Shaheen, who tells Mitch that he knew Charity was going home. He admitted it to Mitch, which I think a good move. Mitch could end up being potentially in a power position at some point. I mean, this game always tosses and turns. You want to be someone who was at least later on honest. Maybe not in the moment, but one of the first to be honest and tell him, because that's something that Mitch likely won't forget. So I think
Yeah.
that's a very smart move for Shaheen.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like this was a great episode for Shaheen, which we can get into more of that in a little bit too. But I think that was smart because then he wants Mitch to be able to trust him that at least he was honest and telling him that he knew about Charity being the target last week.
For sure. I think it's the little things like that that you have to, that make somebody very good at the game. Because I think a lot of people, when somebody's on the outs, and I feel like we see this a lot on Big Brother, maybe even more than Survivor, where
Yeah.
someone's on the outs and it's just like you treat them as a pariah. Like you're like, I don't want to be seen with you. My alliance is going to be upset if they see us talking. So I'm just going to pretend like you don't exist almost in this house. And I think that it takes a very smart player to be like, no, that person could be very, very valuable for my game at some point. And if the tables turn and they're on top and they win HOH, or, in the Big Brother analogy, but like on Survivor, it's very easy for that person to become a swing vote, or a vote that you absolutely is necessary to make a plan work that you want to work. And there, if you left them out and that toss them aside, why would they not return the favor later on? And so to have a moment like that with someone like Mitch is something that very easily could be, he could be very glad that he did that in just a few days potentially.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, not only that, not only do they have a game talk, but then Mitch also shares more about his life story with Joe and Shane, and that's really in an effort to emotionally connect with them, because I think Mitch feels like, maybe I haven't made those strong connections on an emotional level with some of these people in the merge tribe yet, and this was a moment that was really nice to see. And we've seen that just a couple episodes ago, I think, with Mitch as well, that he had a really nice moment. And yeah, I feel like this is something that Mitch is really good at, is just really connecting with people and making them really love him as a person. And that goes a long way on a show like Survivor. You want somebody who you feel you connect to, whether you're like necessarily in a strong alliance with them or not, but you want people who you feel like you can talk to and have those good moments with, versus somebody maybe who you just kind of haven't connected with in that way.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think Mitch is really good at that, and we learn more about him each episode, which is nice to see because didn't know he was a mailman before he was a teacher. So,
Yeah.
which is cool to see that and his journey there. Which is, I mean, of course, like tugging at heartstrings. I feel like is always a good move in Survivor. So I think that was good for his game overall too.
I know, and I worry sometimes. I'm like, are they showing us all of these stories? Like, are they giving us all of this now because he's not going to be here in a couple episodes? Or is this a good winners edit or something, where you're kind of giving crumbs of his emotional backstory each episode in an effort to really care about him and want him to win or do well when he makes it really far in the game. So it's hard to tell. I feel like you never really know, but I feel like I was a little bit concerned at some point in this episode. I was like, oh god, no, they're giving us this moment because he's gonna be voted out here. But spoiler alert, he was not.
Yeah, which is good.
Yes. Well, then Say goes and talks to Shaheen. Again, we've been talking a lot about Shaheen so far because he was in it a lot this episode. He had, like you said, a very good episode. And he again, admits that he voted for her, but obviously it was a split, and he knew that Say wasn't going home, but he did vote for her. And she says she respects him for being honest about that. And I do think, that's something that again goes a long way with people, is just that honesty. And I think that was another good move for Shaheen. And he said that if, he and Say had been on the same starting tribe, that maybe he would have worked with her, but it's kind of too late now. The lines have been drawn a bit, and they're not going to necessarily have the closest relationship at this point. But I could see that. Like, I could see if they had been on the same starting tribe, I feel like he would have absolutely been one of those people that Say went up to in day one and just was like, "We got to work together." He went up to all the guys, I think, in that tribe. So if Shaheen had been one of them, yeah, I absolutely could have seen that.
Yeah, I know, it was kind of, like, nice to see, but also kinda sad because it's like, well, sorry, it's a little too late now, but, like, I still like you.
Yeah.
But I know at that point, it was kinda just too late.
Yeah, and look, like, it's really not too late. I mean, they
Yeah,
just merged like the night before, but I
true.
mean, at this point, he's in a big alliance already that,
Yeah.
even though it just formed, but it was kind of too late, I guess, for them to really have a close relationship. But I mean, I feel like these days on Survivor, people don't work together for long periods of time necessarily. Like, it's very much like, who do I need to work with this vote to get out the person who I want out? And then the next week it's, okay, who am I going to work with this week to get out the person that I want? So it's really, I think, to say that it's too late is, and I don't think he used those words, but it was
Yeah.
definitely heavily implied. But I don't necessarily think that that's true. I think that he's probably seen enough of and heard enough stories about Say to be like, maybe that's just not the person that I want to work with at this
Mhm.
point.
Yeah, no, definitely, and he already had that strong alliance that you said, so it's like, at that point, it's kind of harder for them to build that closer relationship.
Yeah. Well, then we get to the immunity challenge, and this one was a record breaker. It is the challenge where they have to hold on to a handle connected to a bucket, which contains 25% of each person's pregame body weight. And once that bucket drops, they're eliminated. Very simple challenge, but we have a twist here. So, as we've seen in the new era before, they're divided into two groups of six. The person who lasts the longest for each group will win immunity, and then both groups will go to tribal and vote someone out. So we're getting a double elimination here. And they're also playing for reward. So the person who lasts the longest of everyone will win peanut butter and jelly for their group, which is kind of funny because peanut butter and jelly used to be a punishment on Big Brother in the old seasons before Slop, and now it's a reward here on Survivor. So it
Yeah.
goes to show you the difference between those two shows. But the group the group that wins, who has the winner in it, will also go to the tribal second, which that's very important because the first person voted out won't make it to jury. Now, I want to stop for a second and just kind of talk about this structure here. I hate the fact that somebody misses out on jury by just this one little bit here. I just
Yeah.
really hate that. Like, I hate when somebody makes the merge but doesn't make jury. Like, I really feel like let's push the merge until jury starts and have both things happen all at once. Like, I just really hate that for that person who, in this case, Say and Charity, who, made it to this milestone but then don't get to be a part of the jury that determines the winner. Like, I don't get why the jury has to be, I don't know why those have to be two different milestones. I don't know. That just kind of bothers me a bit.
Yeah, I didn't like that either because it's then, like, really not totally in your control, like, who is gonna last the longest of
Yeah.
which team's gonna go to tribal first, and because of that, it's like, well, if I was just on the other team, I could have made it to the jury, and so it's so close with that, and it's also with the split vote to or the split teams too, it's just like there's such a small chance or there's a larger chance because there's such smaller teams here that you would get voted out, that it's just annoying that it's not, like, totally fair in that way either.
Yeah. And someone like Say, like, she would have been so great on the jury, and I feel like why purposely like make it so that somebody could potentially be not on the jury when she would have been so entertaining on the jury. Like, it's not improving the show in any way. to do that. And so I personally, like, I wish what they would do is, and we did get a tribe swap this year, which was great, which we don't always get in the new era. But I think instead of swapping into three tribes still. Let's swap from three tribes to two bigger tribes and then give them a couple more weeks on those swap tribes. And that way, I think, you allow it to potentially, be able to last longer because when you're in three tribes of five or whatever it was, yeah, I think it was three tribes of five when they swapped. Like, you can't do that for very long because then you're potentially going to get down to like a tribe of two, and I don't think they want that. So I think though if you swap them into two tribes that are bigger, then you can keep them for longer and not have that risk. And then when you make it to the merge, you really potentially have a lot more tricky scenarios where it's you are you going to be loyal to your original tribe, or are you going to be loyal to the swap tribe because you were on both for equal amounts of time, or maybe the swap tribe for more time. And here we don't necessarily get that because they weren't on their swap tribes for very long. So that's just kind of my thought, but anyways, we have what we have here.
Yeah, maybe they'll listen to your advice and use that for future seasons.
We'll see. We'll see. Well, the two teams end up being, we have the purple team of David, Camilla, Kyle, Cedric, Cheyenne, and Mary, and the orange team of Star, Chrissy, Eva, Joe, Mitch, and Say. So in the end, again, like I said, this lasted almost an hour, which was a record. I think it was 38 minutes was the previous record, 36 minutes maybe. And that was held by Gabler, who won that. And we have here David as our winner for the purple tribe and Joe as the winner for the orange tribe. Now, Joe eventually drops, winning David the reward for his tribe. Both David and Joe are immune, though, going into their tribal councils. So, what did you think of this challenge? I thought it was really fun. We had some really fun moments with Cheyenne and at the bench singing the Survivor theme song, which was, or not theme song, but the kind of music that they do sometimes during challenges. That was really fun. And yeah, it's always fun when a record is broken as well, of course.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed watching this challenge. I feel like sometimes they can feel like they're just dragging on, but this one I was just like locked in the entire time. I was trying to see like, well, David was just so strong. Like it didn't seem like he was gonna drop it. And I was like, are they trying to trick us with that? Like, is he gonna drop and then Joe is gonna win? Like it got really close and obviously David ended up winning. But yeah, the moment with Shaheen doing like the beat of the song was literally like probably one of the top moments I have watching Survivor like ever. It was so funny. And he was pretty on beat too. Like when they
He
were putting the
was.
song behind his song singing, like it was like pretty similar. So I was like, wow, he knows this.
Yeah, I was almost like, did they create this one for to match his? Like, because I need to go back and like try to find this specific music in a previous challenge to see if like this he just knew it like so perfectly, or if they created a new one to match it. Because I feel like they do like create the song. Like, I think they're original music. I don't
Mhm.
think that this is just like something that they found somewhere. So they could do that, but I am very curious to see whether that was which way that went.
Yeah, wait, no, I'm curious to know about that now too. I want to see if they created that or if it was already like he was just on beat.
But either way, like
Yeah,
it felt like something that absolutely would have been a normal Survivor song challenge
yeah,
song. Like it didn't feel like something like, oh, that was obviously something they just created. Like that felt
yeah,
very, very accurate, which was
yeah.
really funny.
It was funny, but then it's like, is that going to put a target on his back? Like he knows Survivor so well that he knows he
I
knows
think
his
they
song.
know
Yeah,
that. They must at this point. Like, I just don't think that anyone on Survivor these days hides how big of a fan they are because they know that, like, they really only cast super fans. And this season's a little different with, like, Chrissy and David in particular, who really don't know the show very well. But, like, Survivor 47, for example, was full of super fans. Like,
yeah,
this would have been, everyone would have been singing along with him, probably. Like, I think that this season's a little bit different, but like I don't think that these days anyone's going to do that. Like That just I feel like that connects you more to people to be able to talk about Survivor at this point. Like there's enough fans on there, so
Yeah.
but it was a really fun moment for sure.
Yes.
Well, then we go back to the orange team. Say knows that she's a target, but she says she is going to vote for Mitch since he voted for her twice in the past. Chrissy also wants Mitch out since she thinks that he is a big threat potentially. She talks to Star and Say to try to get something together here. But did you think at this point going into Tribal, did you think that it was going to be Mitch or Say or potentially someone else?
I thought it was gonna be Say. At this point, like I think she's been up for maybe going home like so many times that I was like, okay, maybe now is actually gonna be the chance because she just didn't really have anyone really to be on her side at this point. To totally flip with her to change the vote. So it just made sense that it was gonna be Say.
Yeah, I mean, I thought so too. I thought like when Chrissy started talking about getting out Mitch potentially, like I thought maybe there's a chance it could be Mitch. Like maybe Say's too obvious, and it felt like I know we talked about this last week. Like oh, Say's story hasn't quite like come to a natural end yet. Like we haven't really seen her and Mary and Cedric like really truly reunite since the merge, and I thought that we would get something with them before Say ends up eventually getting voted out. So and we had that moment with Mitch earlier, that emotional moment where I was like, "Ooh, maybe this is like a like I said, it was like, oh, maybe that's a sign that we're getting these moments because Mitch isn't long for this game." So I really did kind of convince myself that it was a possibility here, but then once Mitch said, that he told Joe that he was going to use his block a vote for Say, I thought, now I don't know that Say's going to be able to get enough numbers to stay here, but sadly, yes, he did use block vote. So Say was voted out 5-0, and in a unanimous vote here.
Yeah, and as we said, we're sad that she won't be on the jury to see her reactions live, and I'm sure she would have had great facial expressions. So that's sad to see her go.
Very sad. I mean, she was such a huge part of why the pre-jury was such a good season, was such a good pre-merge here. I mean, it was episode after episode, and these last two have been a little slow, but I think everything with Vula was very very heavily caused by her, all the drama on that tribe, and that was obviously the tribe that we saw going to tribal over and over and over again for those first few weeks. So very, very sad to see her go here, but I'm glad we had her as long as we did, and I would not be surprised if we see her again sometime in the future for sure.
Yeah, I hope so.
I hope so too. Well, then we go to the purple team. Shaheen, David, and Mary decide to vote Cedric, and they tell Cedric that the plan is Shaheen. Now, Shaheen fills Kyle in on this plan, but Kyle considers using this as an opportunity to actually get out Shaheen. He talks with Camilla about potentially manufacturing a story to tell David that would get David to vote with them. So Camilla tells David that she thinks Shaheen has an idol. That she saw him kind of hang back by the well one time, and that made her suspicious. And and that he wants to make a big move with the idol is what she tells David. So did you think that this was at all going to be a possibility, that this was going to happen here? Or did you think that it was going to be the easy move of just getting out Cedric?
I actually thought this had a potential because I think that we know Shaheen is a really good player and that, like, if there's a time to make a move, like, it could be now. You don't need that many votes to get someone out. And because he also had just had a great episode, as we were saying, I was like, wow, like, maybe it is his time right now. He was talking about how he had, like, such great alliance members and, like, all that stuff, like, where you think, like, oh, maybe he's, like, saying this and like it's gonna be foreshadowing that he goes home kind of thing. But ended up not being the case there. But I'm intrigued to see what's gonna happen in the future weeks with that, just because I think this definitely did set up something that like maybe people are gonna start to think about Shaheen more, but he might just be too hard to get out for a little while for some people. But overall, like it's interesting to see there already are those cracks happening.
Yeah, I was a little bit less convinced with this one. I think I was actually more convinced, I think, that it was potentially going to be Mitch.
Yeah.
I mean, Shaheen did get kind of like that, a little bit of a cocky confessional moment, or he was like, if I can just keep control of this game until the end, I'm going to win. Like, so there was a little bit of that you could see how if, it ends up being his episode to be voted out, that was foreshadowing for that. But yeah, I just didn't think that we saw enough to really indicate that they were going to have the votes to get out Shaheen here. But it ends up that yeah, Cedric was voted out 5-1, so yet another pretty easy vote that they went with there. And look, Cedric went out the way he loves, voting out yet another one of his tribe mates, and he has voted out I think 8 tribe mates in 7 episodes somehow. So, yeah, got another one for his tally book before he ends up going home here. But yeah, two sad votes, I would say. Two members of our Vula tribe that we saw so much of in those first few episodes, and now we are left with just Mary as the original Vula, last one standing. Who would have ever thought it?
Yeah, I know it's sad because I mean, obviously, they just didn't have the numbers on these new tribes that they were on just for this episode. So I feel, or the teams, I guess they're not really tribes, but they're teams. And it kind of just felt inevitable that those were gonna happen here. But hopefully, Mary does well for Vula. We'll see how far she makes it, but maybe she'll make it pretty far now. I feel like she has to. Like at this point, like I don't know how she doesn't make it at least a few more episodes.
Yeah, it seems like she's done a very good job of integrating herself and not seeming like she's associated with Say and Cedric. And so I think that she's done a good enough job there that I don't necessarily see her being voted out just soon because she was the last Fula standing. Like, I don't think that they're necessarily thinking of her that way anymore. But yeah, I am rooting for Mary. I hope she makes it far here. I would be very, very upset if she's one of the next couple to go. But um yeah, no, I mean, I to get on my soapbox for just a couple seconds more. I really, really hate the split tribal. I don't like it as a twist. I think we just so last week was not a merge, but they were all on the same beach voting at the same tribal council. Then this week is the merge, but now they're back separated into tribes basically. So like I don't understand, like it feels so opposite from what it should be. And then next week to me is like what really starts the merge. Like now, okay, now we're done with all these weird twisty tribals. Let's get this game going. Like these last couple episodes have been not great, but I don't think that that's an indication that the season is, ruined. I think that next week will be to me an indication of how the rest of the season is going to go. So I am excited for the rest of the season to come here, but I just wanted to say I hate this twist. Now, there's a concerning pattern that has also been talked about on social media over the past few days about how most split tribals since they started in I forgot exactly what season, like 38 or 39, have been people of color have gone home. I think like four the last like four split tribals have been all people of color, which that's a very concerning pattern to me that the show should look at. That I don't necessarily think that it's designed that way by any means, but I think that people, when they're kind of thrown into an unknown situation like this where they're away from their allies, that maybe they just kind of end up voting based on these unconscious biases that end up having results like this. But it's very strange, very concerning pattern that I hope is enough to get the show to kind of look at this, take a second look, and maybe for the soon to be filmed 49 and 50, maybe they drop this little twist.
Yeah, I hope so. That's a scary stat that that's
Yeah.
happened that many times. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's like if you look at there's like a graphic I think going around on like Twitter and Blue Sky where it's like all the pictures of people that have gone home and split tribals, and it's like I think I think it's been done on 4 or 5 seasons, now, and it's like all but one or two of them are people of color. So it's kind of crazy. It's like such a vast majority that it's like not even a, a stretch to say that this is a pattern at all. So I hope they do. I would rather them do, and they used to do this sometimes where it was like they vote someone out and then they're like, okay, surprise, you're voting another person out now. Like, I think that would be better. Do like a surprise, like immediate tribal. Like, I think that that would just be a better twist than doing it like this, because then at least like everyone's together, everyone's on the same tribe. Like, you're maybe getting rid of somebody who would have gone. I just think that that would be a better way based on the time constraints to get the same number of people eliminated in the same time frame, but doing it in a way where at least one of those votes is completely normal, and you know you give them a few minutes to talk and strategize quickly. I think that would be exciting. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I would like to see that more. Like the split tribal is also just annoying. Like I don't
Yeah.
like seeing that at all. So hopefully at least they eliminate it. Hopefully that's first, and then maybe they change up the format. They need to do that double elimination in a night. Then they could do that. Like surprise, you got someone else to vote out now too.
Yeah. I feel like I've been watching Australian Survivor so quickly that I can't even remember, but I feel like we've maybe seen that on Australian Survivor in a more recent season. And I think that US Survivor should take some more notes from Australian Survivor, but that's just me. So, anyways, we can close the book on episode 7 of Survivor 48 now, and let's move on to Million Dollar Secret.
Yes, let's do it. So, first, let's explain a little bit about the format of the show. Since this is its first season ever and premiered on Netflix, all episodes are out now. So, hopefully, you're all caught up while you're listening to this so we don't spoil anything. If not, come back when you're done. But for the first episodes, we see, or it starts with 12 contestants living together in an estate known as the Stag, and they're randomly assigned rooms, and in each of those rooms is a box. So just at random, or producers, whoever chooses to assign this $1 million to one of these contestants, and that person becomes the millionaire and has to keep their identity a secret. And then the rest of the guests are trying to figure it out of who that millionaire is, and each day they compete in different challenges where the winner can gain access to the trophy room. And in this trophy room, they can decide one person will get to see the clue, and the clue is going to give away something about the identity of the millionaire at that moment. And then each night, everyone gets to vote and eliminate one person who they think is the millionaire. If they're correct, then the money is transferred to someone else. So each day, the millionaire must complete a secret agenda in order to receive an advantage that will help conceal their identity. And sometimes if they don't choose to complete that agenda, then they'll have votes against them at the next vote. So we see that's like the general premise of the show. And the money does move around, obviously, because with some of those secret agendas, even if they weren't voted out as being the millionaire, some of that means like they're able to then move the money, which is better for them
Right.
because they don't want to be seen as the millionaire. They wouldn't have to lie as much or have to do these agendas and have it be harder for them to conceal that if they don't have that money anymore. So, which obviously, because they wouldn't have to conceal anything. But what were your thoughts overall, just seeing that and having in the beginning of the show, like as the premise of it?
I really love the show. Yeah, I think that when it first came out, like when I think it was maybe when it was filming, like Netflix kind of announced that they were doing this show, and it kind of explained the basic concept, and everyone was just like, "Oh, okay, so it's a Traders knockoff." Like, you're seeing the success of that Peacock is having with the Traders, and Netflix is trying to jump on that and do their own type of kind of this mystery mole type show. But I think that this was unique in a lot of ways and very different from the Traders. And in some ways, it's kind of what I've been saying the traders should do. Like, I think these secret agendas are so much fun.
Mhm.
And I think that there's just different aspects to this that I'm like, oh, I really wish that the traders would take some of these ideas, some of these concepts, because I think that it would improve that format in so much. But I think that this show, what I would kind of suggest for a future season, is that I think that the what the traders does really well is it's kind of campiness and it's like fun vibes that Alan Cumming brings, that this show maybe took itself a little bit too seriously at some points, but I think that just the format of it, I thought the cast was great. I think that there's so many things that I really loved about it.
Yeah, I agree, and it was interesting to see having various different kind of or different people who were the millionaires. They did it very differently as
Mhm.
well, which I think was interesting. Like we started out when Lauren was the millionaire, and obviously, like it felt like well, that was also our first millionaire seeing it, so we were like, oh, like what is she gonna do? And
Mhm.
maybe she didn't do the best job at hiding it, but it also seemed like she didn't wanna be it at all anyways.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of like at that point, that's when I knew it was like, "This show, I think they're taking this too seriously." Also, when she was, like, crying because she had to be lying to everyone, like, I was like, "It's okay, you're on a show, like, you can survive."
Yeah, I think where Lauren, I mean, if we're just kind of jumping in here a little bit, like when
Yeah.
she, after she was no longer the millionaire, and then she just like blurted it out to everyone that she was the millionaire, but then like they were asking her questions about her secret agendas and she wouldn't tell them. I was like, okay, Lauren, what are you doing here? Like you have to either go one extreme or the other. You have to tell everyone and just tell them everything so that they think that you're being completely honest with them and they trust that if they ask you like, that could be very useful information that Lauren has. Like, I actually don't think that that was a terrible move for her, to be honest, after she wasn't
Yeah.
the millionaire anymore, because first, they would assume, okay, if you were the millionaire, they're not gonna choose you twice.
Yeah.
So, like, you're probably, at least right now, safe that you're not the millionaire currently. And then they can ask you so many questions about, okay, like, when they told you about your agenda, like how did they word it? What was like what time frame did you have to complete it? Like what there were all these questions that they could ask that could potentially make it easier for them to find the next millionaire. But when she's not telling them information, when she's purposely very obviously withholding information, then it's like, well, what use are you? Like
Yeah.
now we know that you were lying for however many days and you're capable of that, and then also, you're not telling us information that's going to be useful for us to find the next one. So that was not a good move for Lauren.
No, definitely not. But I did like seeing her in the show for when she was there.
Yeah,
She
she
wasn't
kind of
in
gave
it.
me like a young Angela Murray vibes
Yeah. No,
in a
that's what I
way.
thought too. I mean, she is from the Midwest, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm
like where
pretty
she just like never quite knew what emotion you were going to get with her.
No. Do you have any other favorites or any if you don't like Lauren that much, but I don't know if she was your favorite or not, but overall, who were your favorites in the cast?
I really liked Kara. I
Yeah.
mean, spoiler alert, our eventual winner. I thought she was a really, really smart player in so many ways. So I thought she was really fun to watch, just kind of gameplay wise. I mean, Sydney was fun to watch. I thought, she was kind of a very big personality, big player. Sam was also a really fun game player to watch. I thought Sei Young was so sweet, and I really, really liked her, and I was sad that she was out kind of early. But yeah, I really just liked this cast, just overall. I think that this was a really strong cast in a lot of ways, that they were pretty smart players. Oh, I love Jamie. She was fun. Yeah, like, I mean, they were just, I think you could name so many of them that I thought like everyone brought something to the table. And you can't say that about a lot of shows. So I appreciated this cast.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that they were all pretty smart and also generally like were able to figure out things or if they didn't right away, like were able to then think on like what was that again? Like really
Mhm.
smart and like noticing different actions and it wasn't just like in traders where you're like, oh, this person just breathe differently. Like they they were like, "Oh, she was falling," or like, like
Well,
normal
yeah.
things that actually would
Sorry.
make sense. Because I mean, they do have the secret agendas. They know to look out for weird activities, and sometimes they were able to catch that. Sometimes or helpful when they had the help with the clues too. I think that helped, but overall, like they were smart. It felt like and just and like playing the game, they did a good job.
No, and that's exactly what I was thinking, was that with the traders, there is nothing for them to really look for other than like, yeah, like, okay, somebody was on day one, they were acting like this, and then now they're acting like this. They must be the trader, like, because they're just nervous about something. But there's really nothing for them to go off of unless the trader just really messes up. But here, there are agendas that they have to do publicly. And so there's something to look out for. Like whether it's, okay, this person, like, it's really strange that they hugged four people in a row, or that Sydney was falling on the stairs and clearly a fake fall. Like, there's things that they did that they actually could look out for and could potentially figure it out, which they did on multiple occasions. And it was really fun to watch when they did. And I think that's where the traders really lacks, is that you're just watching these people like take the tiniest little things that mean nothing, and they make this huge deal out of it. And I mean, in a way that can be fun, but I just think it would be so much more fun if they actually like were doing murders in plain sight more often, and they knew that that was a distinct possibility, that at least, I don't know, 3 4 times a season that's going to be a thing that we're doing, and we don't know when. So we need to watch out for things, because any little thing could be potentially a murder in plain sight. And the fact that they've only done that once in 3 seasons is really boggling my mind, because it was so much fun when they did it, and now because it's so rare, I don't think it's something that anyone's going to really look out for in the future. Like they did this season, like there was a whole story on the traders about like Brittany being suspicious because Robin told her to look at a painting. And like I don't think that's going to be a thing in future seasons that people are watching out for, because they didn't do it on season 3. So I just think that here having that as a weekly thing is so much fun, and I really really thought it vastly improved the show.
Yeah, and they had to get the other castmates to be involved in it. It's not just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I have to do this thing myself." Like it had to get people thinking in their heads what they like had to get them to say or do, and it just like made that just more exciting to see. And a lot of them were accomplished, which was also like, wow, like they did a good job at doing that.
And a lot of them like were accomplished, but they kind of got caught while doing it, but it didn't
Yeah.
matter because they did it. Like with Sydney's falling, like, yeah, everyone was so suspicious of it, but because she did get the second, how are you, what was it,
Are
are
you
you
okay?
okay, it didn't matter because she was immune. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, they caught it, so what?
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was that was, I think, the biggest thing about this show, that I thought really made it was so superior in that way to the traders. And I thought that added so much.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it was a good, obviously, like from first seasons, like you can learn things from them. But I think they did like a really good job at developing like the different, each episode had something different within it. Like it didn't feel like it was the exact same every episode, also, which was good. Like the different challenges and the different agendas, it wasn't always really like a cookie cutter thing. Like they were very, it seemed like they were very innovative with the whole show.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the challenges for me, like I liked the fact that I like the reward for winning the
Yeah.
challenges was the trophy room and getting a clue to the who the millionaire was. Like I thought that was really good, and that was again something that I kind of have been saying with the traders. Like the challenges don't mean anything, but on this show they did, and you get uh, your winning team goes to the trophy room, and then you have to decide on one person to get that clue, and that person can decide whether they want to share it with the rest of the house or not, or maybe they only share it with the other people who went to the trophy room with them, or whatnot. But I really thought that was great. I think the challenges themselves, I think they would be better in the future if they were to get a bigger budget.
Yeah.
I just think, they maybe didn't have a lot to work with the challenges, but so some of them ended up being, threading a needle
Yeah, that one
or
was my least favorite. Like, okay, this can be better.
I think both of the challenges in the finale actually to me were like the worst two
Yeah.
challenges. But like the one in episode 1 I thought was actually really really cool. I thought like,
Mhm.
"Oh, these challenges are actually pretty good." I think they did a couple that were like bigger budget so that they could like put them in the trailer and make it seem like all the challenges were like that, but then in reality those were like the only two that were actually cool to watch. But I
Yeah.
I don't really care cuz like to me, the challenges kind of fast forward through them, like if you
Yeah.
can, most of the time. Like I don't really care about watching the challenges most of the time, but I still want them to mean something. Like I want to know, okay, this person won. Like I want them to actually have won something other than like building the prize pot or something. Like I thought this was a really good reward for winning them that actually meant something and impacted the game.
Yeah. No, for sure. So let's go more into some details with episodes 7 and 8. So in episode 7, Kara is selected as the next millionaire, and her agenda is to get 3 people to move out of their seats, and then she has to sit down in their place. And if she's successful, then she wins a kill shot. And then she has to be able to survive the vote, though, for it to land. And then it would be a double elimination. But if she does not complete the agenda, then she automatically has 2 votes against her. But she does successfully complete that agenda. So she was able to get the kill shot. And I thought she did a really good job there in surviving this vote. People really weren't totally suspecting her. Also, I feel like this agenda of all of them, like she was saying how it made sense for her because she always wanted like a specific
Yeah.
spot and like wanting to sit by the fire. She was able to use like being cold as reasons or like the sun. Like this one, I feel like was an easier one to get away with of all the agendas, because it wasn't as rare for this to happen for her. But I was happy that she successfully completed that, and then we see that she was good in this part. I didn't know how long she was going to last and not being caught, but obviously we find out that she still wins in the end. But what did you think?
Yeah, no, she did a really, really good job with this, and I think was it three? Yeah, three people that she got, and I thought all three were
Yeah.
like totally normal. Like she seemed like I don't think anyone thought anything of it any of those three times. So she really like with ease completed this task. But I did think like I felt like maybe it should have been a little bit harder because I think like as the season goes on, it felt like the rewards or punishments for not doing the agenda were getting bigger, but I kind of thought like maybe they should make the agendas a little bit harder for the last couple here for her to complete. Like if the reward's going to be so big or the out the reward or the punishment is going to be so big, like maybe make it a little bit more challenging for her, but maybe it would have been for other people and maybe she was just so good at it that it seemed so easy, but yeah, she did great, and I think that yeah, she killed it, no pun intended.
Exactly. And then also we see that Sam got the clue that the about the millionaire in her box, and the clue was that the millionaire has 2 sisters, and she knows that Jamie has 2 sisters, so she thinks that it must be her. But then also Sam asks Kara if she has sisters, and Kara lies and says that she only has one, which I was surprised. Like I was getting nervous. I was like, "Wait, like we know that Kara has two. Like, what is she gonna say?" And somehow she had some instincts to lie and know that she could only say she had one sister, which I was like impressed by, but also like, how did she know that?
That was
But
crazy.
yeah,
Like the fact that she just I feel like there were a couple of moments like this where Kara was like just knowing things were like to act certain, like to respond in a certain way or to not say something where I was like, how did she know that? Like it was crazy that she just had this instinct to say, no, I only have one, and without having any clue that was what the clue was. That not only what that was the clue was, but the Sam got the clue. Like, she didn't even know that Sam was the one who had it. Like, it was just
Yeah.
that was wild to me.
Yeah. No, that was actually crazy. But it worked out great for her because then no one suspected that it was Kara as the millionaire because it has to be someone with two sisters. But obviously we knew it was actually Kara. And then also, next up we had the activity, and Jamie and Sydney end up winning that. And they decided that Sydney was going to receive the clue, but there was actually no clue this time. And Sam, because Sam had already received one, but instead, Sydney receives the secret agenda, and she has to have two people ask her, "Are you okay?" And this is when we see her fake falling. And if she's successful, she will receive immunity from both the vote and the kill shot. So this is a big advantage here. And at this point, yeah, like having people ask you, "Are you okay?" and you're falling, like, is pretty easy. I mean, people are going to notice it, but it will happen, and then you're going to be safe. So it kind of worked out for the best for her in this way that she's cloned, or she said she's very much like prone to falling a lot of times, and we already saw that earlier in the season as well. But it was funny when some people like just were not asking her, "Are you
I
okay?" Like
know.
it kind of made it sound like when we were watching it, like it kind of looked like people weren't asking her, and then obviously she won. She got the advantage, but it was kind of, this one was like, wait, is she not gonna get it? Like, I didn't know entirely.
Yeah, she had to like really force feed that out of, was it
Yeah,
Kyle, I think, that she ended up getting
Corey.
to Corey, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
where she was like, "Are you're not gonna ask me if I'm okay?" Like
yeah,
literally feeding it to him.
yeah,
But yeah, I this was a harder agenda, I think. Like this to me was the right level of difficulty at least, where it was like, okay, I don't know what I would do to get someone to ask me if I'm okay in a way that would seem like not fake, like because I don't want to actually hurt myself to do this. But like how am I going to, like, fall, or I don't know. I feel like maybe what I would do is just start like coughing a lot or something, because I feel like that's something that is not going to hurt me, but like I could maybe fake a little bit easier, and like get that would get someone to ask if you're okay. That might be what I would do, but also that could, that could be fake. That could come across as fake if I'm not actually coughing. I don't know. Maybe I'm not good at fake coughing. But yeah, I think that there was no really easy way to do this, which made it a fun mission because people were very much suspecting that was an agenda.
yeah, for sure. But that made it fun to watch it on
Yeah.
our side at least. But now we go to the elimination dinner, and Jamie is voted out, which, because of the two sisters clue, that's why everyone's suspecting it's Jamie. But then Kyle receives the kill shot, so he is also eliminated. So we got that double elimination. Kara was survived this one, so she was able to use that kill shot. I thought that was a good move on Kara's part, just because like Kyle was kind of suspecting her. And at this point, like, you don't want people in there that think you're the millionaire. But it seemed like he wasn't totally vocal about it also, so I feel like people didn't catch that. It could have been her.
Well, this was the other kind of crazy thing that Kara just knew instinctively somehow, because she knew not to go for Sydney. That,
Yeah.
Sydney had lied about the fact that she got, the clue that she got. And what nobody knew, that she actually had immunity. And so Kara had like the wherewithal to think like, okay, I think that Kara's lying, or that Sydney's lying about the clue that she got. So maybe she got some type of immunity. And because of that, I'm not going to go for her, because if I go for her and she's immune, then the kill shot might not land, and then she's still in the game. I didn't get to eliminate anyone with it. And so the fact that she thought of that and thought to go for someone else like Kyle was brilliant, and it worked. And I mean, that was just like, I don't know how she thought to do that.
No, that was really smart. I mean, it was obvious that Sydney probably had something, so it was probably for the best that she just tried to stay away. I mean, it was for the best because then she wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked there. But yeah, I'm like wondering if like when producers talked to her or something? Because like I feel like she had some intel, but maybe she didn't. Like maybe she just was that smart.
I really
And
think she was just good at it because, like,
yeah,
I don't know, she just seems very smart. She seems like a very good player, and I fully believe that she just thought it through enough. But I think if it were me, if I were in Kara's position, I would probably think that Sydney was lying, but I think that I would just think that Sydney was lying about what clue she got. Like, I would think, oh, she must have gotten another clue, and she's trying, not telling us because she wants to suss us out to see who it applies to and not have people be, lying about whatever that fact is that she got. So, I think that would be where I would think she was lying. I don't think that it would cross my mind that she actually didn't get a clue, but instead got some type of reward or agenda.
yeah. I don't know. I guess because they've also lived with each other. I don't know how many days that like they can kind of suss out if someone's acting weirder around them, or maybe like that
Yeah.
been part of it as well. That it seemed like she was like not maybe as worried because she had that immunity now. So it could have been just her instincts there too.
I guess that's true that because Sydney was so obvious that like it seemed like she had an agenda and that's why she was falling, then you could kind of like think about it and think, okay, well, if she has an agenda, either, most people might think that she's the millionaire, but Kara would think, oh, that's not obviously, I know she's not the millionaire, but the fact that she potentially has an agenda might mean that she got that in the trophy room instead of a clue. So, like, yeah, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, it does make more sense. Like, you might, if you're in Kara's position, might kind of come to that conclusion. But yeah, still, I think very, very smart to not go
Yeah.
try to go for Sydney.
For sure. And now we're in the finale episode, and the next activity they have to play is in pairs. So one person from the losing pair will be eliminated, which the winning pair then chooses who that person is. So it's pretty high stakes here with this last activity. So Kara and Sydney are a pair, and Corey and Sam are a pair, and then they decide to vote out Sydney. But it did seem that as it was getting closer to the voting them out, or whoever was going to be Cara or Sydney, that Corey was kind of contemplating maybe Cara is the one with the money and they should vote her out. But ultimately, they did choose to vote out Sydney, which kind of made sense there also because it felt like the three of them, Cara, Corey, and Sam, were kind of in an alliance.
Yeah.
So it didn't really make sense to vote out Cara.
I think it's one of those things where it's just like at this point they've been kind of trying to get Sydney out for a while
Yeah.
now, and it's just like it's almost too late. It's like, yeah, Cara might be the millionaire actually, but like it's almost like you think of that and it's so far gone that like trying to get out Sydney, and she's had immunity the last two times. You haven't been able to do it. Like let's just get her out of here and make it the three of us, and then I'll have that piece of information in my back pocket that I think Cara might be the millionaire, but I'll deal with that once we're at final three.
Yeah, and Kara was pretty smart here as well because she purposely threw this challenge by
Yeah,
trying to keep hitting her head in the green lasers.
but she almost
uh,
still won.
yeah, no, it was kind of close. But I mean that was good because she knew like Corey and Sam would never vote for her. Well, she was hoping that that would be the case, that they would never vote for her to go out. That it would be easy for her to then make it to the final three, which
Yeah,
was the case there. And then for this final activity, these final three players must thread 5 needles, as we mentioned before, the 5 needles as fast as possible. But Kara had an advantage because she had one fewer needle since they did not eliminate her. So then she had the fastest time. Corey is second, and then Sam was last, which we knew this probably was going to happen. That Kara was going to win with having one fewer and seeing her go first, and that time was a pretty fast time. But it seemed like
yeah.
Sam was actually getting close to finishing until then the last needle she
I
had like
know.
took a while for her. But what did you think? I mean, obviously, we don't love this just simple
Yeah, this was a stupid
threading.
challenge or a stupid
Yeah.
activity, they call it. But I think that what was interesting about it was that I figured, okay, Car's going to win because she has one fewer. Like, it's just like more than likely, unless she really messes up, she's going to win. But I thought what was interesting about this was that to me, if I'm Kara, it's like, okay, I could finish this really, really quickly. But if I'm too quick, then it's going to be suspicious that the other two are going to assume, like, well, how did you do this in like less than a minute or like just over a minute? Like, when it took me, way longer and I was going as fast as I possibly could. Like, there's no way that you did this so much faster than me and still had five needles. And so that would be what I was thinking if I was Car. I was like, I don't think I would necessarily go as fast as I possibly can. Like,
Mhm.
as if you want the time to be pretty close to the other two. Like, you want it to be first, obviously, but you want it to be like not that far off to where
Yeah.
you can reasonably say, no, I had five. Like, if I had four, I would have gone a lot quicker than that. Like, you want to be able to have that defense and not have people looking at you like, that's a little too fast.
Yeah. No, it was good that she didn't or I feel like they did kind of suspect her at
I
that
think,
point.
yeah, I think she was almost right on that verge of being too
Yeah.
fast, but turned out okay still.
It
But
turned out okay for her because the first and second place players, Kara and Corey, then will take turns swapping the contents of a single box in private, which this was an interesting part of the game. I felt like because even if you didn't have a million dollars in your box, then you were able to swap it. If you thought you knew who the millionaire was, you could again get that money. So first Corey goes in there and he does swap, but then or it seemed that way, right? He swap it?
yes, so
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think they were required to
Oh,
swap,
they were
but
required to swap it.
they
Okay.
could, if you thought you had the million in your case still, you could just swap the other two people, and
Oh yeah.
or if you already had the million or whatever, like then yeah, you just swap the other two and leave yours alone.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Because then we didn't see Kara's decision when she went in there, but because Corey swapped it, then Kara knew he probably knew she was the millionaire at that point. She took it back, so she ends up winning that $1 million, and I was happy for her. I felt like she deserved it, and that she just played a really good game, especially at the end. Which when she was a millionaire, that's when it counts the most. And I think the swapping though, like it was an interesting aspect of it. Like, I don't know if they could maybe adjust that in future seasons. Like, it felt like a little bit like, I don't know, not rigged, but like in a way, like Kara had the advantage there because she was able to take it back.
Yeah, I think what I would say is maybe don't give the millionaire an advantage of like one fewer needles in this case. Like,
Hmm.
let them have an equal shot at getting it or not getting it, because I think it was pretty obvious, like, okay, Kara is going to like be in the best position of the three because she's probably going to win because she has an advantage in the challenge. So it's like we kind of know, like, all it came down to was, is Corey going to convince Kara that he thinks the millionaire is Sam? And he's not going to touch Kara's case. Because if Kara had believed that,
Hmm.
then potentially she would have not known to swap her and Corey's back so that she would end up with the millions still. And she would, maybe swap Corey and Sam's or just swap with Sam, whatever. And I think I think what maybe would have been a little bit more interesting if Kara either had not been in that last position or had not had an advantage and just earned it completely on her own merit. I think
Yeah.
that maybe would have been a little bit better, but I like this idea. Like, I don't want them to completely change this ending. I really liked the finale and I liked this format of it. I just wish that the challenge had been a little bit more exciting. And I think that, yeah, just give them each an equal shot at this point. Like, it's Final Three, it's too important. Don't give the millionaire an advantage.
Yeah, for sure. And Sam kind of just like at that point, like can't do anything here because
Yeah.
I didn't get to win this challenge, and then she doesn't get a say in what happens with those with their boxes anymore or their briefcases with the money. So I'm happy though that's how the season ended. I feel like it makes sense for Kara to win this. But what do you think? Do you think that it was a good end of the season?
Yeah, for sure. I think Kara was a very deserving winner, very likable winner. I hope we see her on something else in the future. I really thought she was very, very smart, and I would love to see her play kind of a different game, like a more kind of Big Brother Survivor type game, because I think she would do really, really well. And I maybe we'll see her on the next season of the what is it called, Battle Camp, that's coming up in
Oh
a couple
yes.
weeks. Maybe she'll be on season 2 of that.
Yeah.
That would be fun. I mean, I don't know if the show is going to be any good, but if it is and
I
comes
hope
back
so.
for season 2, we'll see. But I think that's probably most likely where we would potentially see her again. But yeah, I hope we see a lot of the cast on shows like whether it's Battle Camp, Perfect Match, something. I really liked this cast, and I hope that we see them on something else in the future. And yeah, I love the ending, love the season. I give it very high scores.
Yeah. And also, I also want to mention that I feel like it was impressive how Sam was able to go throughout the season without it being revealed that she was a cop, which was
Yeah,
impressive. Like, there were a lot of clues kind of revolving around that, and no one ever found out, which was kind of cool. That I felt Sam did a really good job there. So I'd also want to see her on another show.
yeah, very Sarah Lacina, Tony Vlachos
Yes.
vibes. But yeah, no, I thought the fact that Kara, they never found out she had two sisters. Yeah, that
Yeah.
Sarah, that Sam was a cop. Yeah, there was a lot of good hiding of professions going on this show, which was fun.
Yes, and that's why they made it as far as they did.
Yeah.
But do you have any hopes for season 2 besides more harder challenges and the agendas as well?
I think just I would love it to see it with a little bit of a higher budget so that the
Yeah.
challenges could be a little bit of a level up. Like, look, I don't need them to be all like, the challenge. I don't need them to be like running, on trucks and exploding things and all that stuff, but I think just kind of more bigger builds, not just kind of DIY challenges like going into a cold pool and then putting stones on someone's back. Like that wasn't exciting to watch. So I think just kind of more in the vein of like the first challenge that they did, or the lasers even were fine. Like I think just more things like that to be able to do, uh, have all the what do they call them? Not challenges, the activities to be
Yeah.
more like those, and then I would be fine with it. I don't need them to be anything spectacular, but just to be, not embarrassingly low budget.
Yeah, but they did have the $1,000,000 prize.
They did,
That
absolutely.
that's
Yeah, they're
exciting.
yes, and I think pretty much everything else about this show I really, really liked. I think that sure there's, tiny little things here and there that could be tweaked, but I think overall if they did this exact same thing in season 2, I would enjoy it again.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, let's hope it gets renewed for season 2.
Hope so.
But that's all we have today to chat about. So thanks so much for listening. And we'll be sure to talk with y'all again next week. Make sure you're following us at Let's Chat Reality on social media and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks so much for listening.
Bye everyone.